think good afternoon. It's good to be here. I'm Devesh from Meta. I'm an industry manager in the e-commerce and retail vertical. So I think just quick context on why we're doing this session, and then maybe we'll go around the room and also do a quick round of introductions. But the context, at least from our side, is that at Meta, we've seen in the last 12 to 18 months, retail really sort of become a big driver of at least our fastest growing emerging vertical. And what we've seen is that some retailers do a really good job of driving omnichannel, and some maybe are trying to learn. So we just thought we'll go out there in the market and just share what we think best looks like, and eventually also get feedback on what are the barriers out there in the market as well, so that we can also learn and evolve our product accordingly. So that's at least the agenda from our end. So I think before I get into some slides, and for folks that were there yesterday, you'll probably see a repeat of that, but folks that weren't, is going to be brand new for you. But yeah, maybe we'll just start with a quick round of intros, and I'll probably just take a minute and talk through the flow of content at least today. We have about 10-15 minutes worth of slides from our end. But I think where we really want to get into the meat of the discussion is to probably go around the room and give everyone a chance to understand a few things, right? The first thing is that at least our learning, we've seen that everybody's definition of omnichannel is different, right? But what we'd really like to understand is what is your definition and what does omnichannel mean for your business? And I think basis that, how are you using platforms to eventually drive omnichannel in some way or form, right? Is Meta in your funnel at all? Is Meta in your marketing mix? Do you actually use any online channels to drive discovery and eventually aid offline? And if yes, how are you doing it? If not, how can we figure out and how can we all learn from each other? So that's broadly the agenda. So with that, maybe I'll just start with you, sir. If you could just maybe introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. My name is Amar Girish. I represent a company called Giri. We are a 73-year-old spiritual brand. We do puja products, books, textiles and stuff like that. We are having 36 branches all across India.
Okay.
And yes, we do use digital marketing per se, and Meta is also one of them. But the main purpose of me joining this meeting is to understand, because I don't do the technical part. So most of the time we see that, you have to give this, you have to do that, and from the experts I don't usually get to hear directly.
Sure.
So I thought this is an opportunity to understand, and probably I will have a strong dialogue with my marketing team as well.
Awesome. That's exactly what we're hoping also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meghna.
Hi, I'm Meghna. I lead the Omnichannel and retail practice at Meta. So me, Devesh, Shubha and Prateek are planted here strategically to facilitate this conversation.
Hi, this is Lolatendu Panda. I am from Reliance Retail. I take care of I'm the head of the marketing strategy for the entire Reliance Retail, so all the 19 formats. Reliance Retail is the largest, retailer in the country. Prior to this assignment, I was heading the e-commerce and quick commerce business of JioMart grocery, and I was the ex-CMO of Reliance Retail's value format also, all the physical stores. So it is a pleasure, Meghna, for the invitations, and I hope to interact and learn from you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Abhishek. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for brand Lacoste in India, and we are in this country from last 36 years and operating good about 67 physical stores, and we are retailing through our e-commerce and present in all marketplaces, and that contributes about 23% of our total business.
I'm Dr. Dev Narayan Sarkar. I'm the Senior Vice President and Global Business Head of Godrej Ontario, one of the 14 divisions of Godrej. And we operate 115 physical stores spread across India, as well as a lot of distribution channels, which reaches another 4,500 stores. We are, as all of you know, we are a 127-year-old brand, so we are modernizing ourselves very fast through omnichannel tech.
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Chinmay. I lead online marketing and revenue for FirstCry. We are India's largest kids retailer. As on date, we have about 1,100 stores across India.
Hi everyone again, Prateek from Meta. Meghna has already introduced me, so why don't you?
Hi, this is Jaswinder. I'm from CRM Silk Mills Limited. I head retail for CRMs. We are currently having 400 exclusive brand outlets across India. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Samir Sheikh. I am from Big Basket. I head the buying, merchandising, new product launches across all categories for West India. Have been associated with Big Basket since last 10 years now. So have seen the way consumers' behavior has changed. And so apart from online, we have few offline stores and we have kiosk machines also. So towards the omni-channel and like to add more value also and take something back So that's my expectation.
Hi everyone, I am Vikas Asaria. I am director of Vishal Peripherals. We are into IT and we are having consumer space for mainly students. So I'm here to understand how we can reach to more students, and we do lots of college event activities. We have more than 7 lakh students whom we are supporting right now. So through Meta, I want to understand how Meta and us can help the student community better.
Hi, myself Amin Vaidya. I am the director for AmSam Brands Private Limited. We are basically in Telangana region, state of Telangana, where we run 40 odd stores across all multinational companies and apparel and footwear and lifestyle products. So basically myself attending today to gain more experience on this, see how Meta can help me to gain more customers from online reach to the store level.
Hello everyone, my name is Guru Raj. I am from Titan. I handle the innovation part of Titan, culture, capability, all of those aspects. And of course, good to know from Devesh that Titan is already working with Meta, and all our divisions are in fact in touch with Meta. So we just wanted to know how Meta can add more value to our business.
Hi everyone, I'm Soham, I'm from Carrot Lane. So I work in the retail sales department. We have been working with Meta for quite a long time. So I'm here to gain more experience about this.
Hi, we just great to hear from.
Came in late.
No worries.
Anil Menon from Lulu.
Awesome. Okay, so I think with the introductions is great. I think we've got people from super diverse industries, so hopefully we can all learn from each other. So I'll maybe take about 10-12 minutes and just talk you through what we have, and then we'll go around the room and engage in a good discussion. So I think 3 parts to this. We'll just start off by talking about what is the evolving omnichannel landscape that we see at least. What do we think are the opportunities for the omnichannel marketer today, and how can you really get started? So with that, let's just dig right in. I think if you look at overall like the landscape of where people really spend their time today, almost 4 hours a day is actually on mobile, and that's primarily because of short form videos, at least what we've seen. And if you actually compare that to TV, it's actually under 2 hours, which means people are actually spending 2x the amount of time on their mobile device than on TV, right? And therefore, if you think about how brands need to be built today, very, very different compared to like the age where probably when we started growing up and when we started really getting into marketing, right? And if you look at what that means for omni-channel shoppers, so we have a term internally that we call Webrooming, which is how many people browse online and eventually come to the store. We've seen a 2x increase of that since COVID, since 2020, where the number of people who basically start their journey online and eventually come to the store. And to take that a little further and try and understand what this looks like on social media and across the funnel itself. So of the people we surveyed, we actually saw that 84% of people saw a product on social media and eventually walked into the store and bought it, right? Now the advantage that we also saw and noticed, and I'm sure you ask businesses as well, and they'll probably say the same, is that when that behavior actually happens, they'll end up spending 34% more than folks who probably just walk into a store directly. And the reason for that, I think, is fairly intuitive, because if you've done your research and you walk into a store, you know what you want, you're going to go and ask for it, and I think that's very, very true. We've heard for brands like Carrot Lane as well.
Absolutely.
And as a result of that, it's more likely people will probably upsize to a higher basket or probably add a second item because they're already convinced and have trust in the brand. And eventually what we've also seen is that they come back and they actually buy 70% more often than folks that only come to you for the first time in your store, right? And therefore, if you think about what this means, it's very, very important for omnichannel. And I know we're going to go around the room and ask everyone their definition of omnichannel, but if you ask Meta what we think omnichannel really means, it's basically driving discovery online and eventually giving consumer the choice of where they want to consume eventually, whether it's online or offline, right? And if you look at what this really means and how this reflects in media strategies, right, adopted by brands in India, what we'll see is that, so this is a report that looks at the landscape of adex, which is all ad spend across the country since 2020. And what you'll see is that this year, digital marketing is actually going to be about 61% of the overall adex out there. Which means, and obviously this is an aggregate, so you'll find skews for traditional versus skews for actually digital first companies. But I think the big question that we've been asking is, if you're a marketer today, or if you can talk to your marketing team, the question for you is that if this is not your P&L as well, then you should be wondering why, and if not, how can you sort of get there also? So jumping right in, what do you think, or at least how do we break down what the opportunities are for folks on Meta if you're looking to drive omnichannel sales, right? Quick context of what we see on our platform. Almost 4 billion people a month use our platforms. Some stats on what everyone does on our platform as well. So everything from conversing to sharing reels watching video, and we'll go through specific stats in a second as well. So across the board, you see engagement happening across different facets. And you'll be happy to know that there's actually a video of Tanish there, which is basically, and again, the reason we actually put that video there is because if you look at Tanish, they're a brand that was obviously started before the digital age actually existed, right? And they very, very strong storytelling capability. But they've also been able to transform and do really, really well in a digital-first environment also, right? And do short-form storytelling. So I think if brands like them, like them can do it, then there's no reason why the whole world can't adopt that strategy as well. Now, if you look at what is really driving growth on Meta, and the reason this is important is because if you're a brand, you want to tap into what users are doing on our platform, right? Three big things. One is there's an explosion of short-form video, and if you tie it back to that first slide as well, which talks about time spent on mobile, the reason for that is because people are spending a huge amount of time on Reels. More than 50% of time spent on our platform is on video, and is actually on Reels, where they're spending short-form content, they're sharing it. And if you look at what is driving all of that content consumption, it's basically what we call creators, which is nothing but influencers. A lot of influencers creating a bunch of content that we'll end up sharing with our friends and family, and it keeps going in this vicious circle, right? And the third big thing is just the move to messaging, because a lot of that sharing is happening on messaging, whether it's on Instagram or on WhatsApp. And as a result, businesses also are conversing with users on WhatsApp, right? And I think the stat that we have here is 90% of adults actually message a business once a week. Right? So the question for you is if you don't have an active WhatsApp strategy, then you should be thinking differently on how you can really have one. And this is exactly what we'll come to, and we won't leave anything up in the air. We'll talk you through what we think you should be doing and what other brands are also doing out there. Now, if you break down, if we had to give you a framework of how to think of what to do on Meta, three big pillars, what we call performance, connection, and creativity. Think of performance as your base and your foundation. Your connection is your ability to go ahead and connect with all of your customers really, really well. And creativity is in a way where, at least what we say is, how do you speak the language of our platform, which is basically Reels and creators, right? And I'll try and dig in through each of them and give you a very good client example of how they've done it also. The first thing within performance, and I think this is probably the biggest black box that we hear, which is, if we're marketing online, how do we go ahead and piece together the journey to understand what is a digitally influenced store sales? And that's the first thing we're trying to answer over here. So there's a product that we have called Conversions API. Without getting too technical, what that really does is it allows you to go ahead and send your offline data back to Meta in a hashed manner. And for every campaign that you run on Meta, you can actually understand how many store sales came out of it. And therefore, it makes it very easy for you to understand your digitally influenced store sales as well, right? It actually doesn't stop there. You can go extend that further and even create a copy of, therefore, the audiences that come to your store and target them on Meta as well, right? You can even take that a step further and create what we call a lookalike of those audiences. So if you actually tell our system, I want to go out there and find similar people like my customers because of a certain profile or certain income group, our tools can do that as well, right? So this is sort of the starting point. If there's one thing that you have to do today and tell your teams to do, this is probably the step one of that, which is just making sure that your plumbing is in place in a product called Conversions API. Assuming that's done, this is an example of a brand called Rare Rabbit, and I'm sure all of us today look around, and if you think of digital-first brands that eventually took the route to offline, I'm sure all of us think fairly highly of Rare Rabbit in terms of how they've done it. So they've actually gone fairly deep and like probably best in class in terms of how they run their campaigns across Meta as well, where if you look at the bottom section, they have a store strategy by cohort, right? So they actually have newly launched stores, they have high-performing stores, they have lagging stores, and they run personalized campaigns depending on marketing objectives for each of those stores. So you'll see a visual here of an ad from a campaign that they're running in Hyderabad where they wanted to drive traffic to the in-orbit mall store specifically, right? And all of this, by the way, is happening with our AI tools at the back end, where our AI is figuring out who's likely to buy and walk into that store. So your marketing teams don't have to really decipher all of that, right? And you can see some data in terms of what they really saw in terms of return on ad spend, right? And I'm cognizant that not everyone here is from the marketing team, so just FYI, return on ad spend is really, if you're investing 1 rupee, what is the return that you're getting on top of that? And for every business, it makes sense to have a different return on ad spend depending on your margins and eventually your average order value.
What is the basic count on the ROS?
Sorry?
What is the basic trend of ROS on Meta?
So there's no general number, which is why I was saying it really depends on your business. So we've seen ROAS all the way from 10 to 3 to 20, but that really depends. Because let's say if you're like Lacoste selling products for 4,000 rupees, a ROAS of 3 is still 12,000 rupees average order value, right? As an example. But for someone selling something under 1,000 rupees, a ROAS of 3 may not be good enough, So it really depends on what category you're in, the frequency of purchase, and the average order value to figure out what that ROAS should look like. So the other big pillar, what we talk about is we do understand a lot of traditional retailers out there use a lot of channels like TV and print because, of course, that's the way that they've done things. But the question here is, how do you augment what you're doing with Meta as well? And this is an example of Big Basket. They've gone ahead and actually added Meta on top of their print campaigns because the way we've gone ahead and designed journeys with them is to basically say that your print campaigns, if you actually think about it, people open the newspaper once in the morning and that's it, they close and after that it's done. But what if you need to reinforce that same ad and campaign across Meta? It'll probably drive better impact. And that's what they actually saw as well. So they went ahead and ran in tier 2, tier 3 cities on Meta. And if you look at the creatives, they tried to really mimic their print creatives on Meta as well, the pamphlet kind of feature with products below that. And what it really did was it drove, so in the cities where they added Meta on top of print, they saw like a 2x lift, which is about a 30% lift in traffic on their website, versus cities that did print alone almost had a 14% lift. So clearly they were able to quantify a lot more uplift there. And they also saw a 5 to 7% higher sales volume, right? And over time, what that gave them the confidence to do is actually scale back slightly on print because it's a more expensive medium, and also run more targeted campaigns on Meta because you can really tell Meta to say, hey, okay, 18 to 24, this cohort, this behavior, this is what I want to do, versus praying and praying, right? So that's sort of the strategy that they were able to adopt. So that's just a glimpse of the first pillar in terms of what's really possible. I'll quickly jump to the second pillar on WhatsApp, and I think this is probably something that will interest everyone here. What you'll really see on WhatsApp today is that there's a diverse set of use cases across the entire funnel and lifecycle that's possible, right? So depending on your business, there is really no one size fits all. You can customize these journeys depending on what that needs to look like for you. So you can really go about booking an appointment if that's something that you actually care about, or eventually doing after sales service as well. So we worked with Chroma because they actually came back and told us that they wanted our help to devise consumer journeys that eventually send out offers and help them figure out how do people discover that offer and come into the store and attribute back to that campaign itself, right? So they went ahead and built this entire, they actually built this entire campaign where they used a product called Click to WhatsApp, where the ad that you see on the left here is actually served across our feed, our stories, and on Reels. And as they go ahead and click on that, it opens a chat on WhatsApp. And that entire journey there is actually designed to ask the user what product they're interested in. In this case, it was an air conditioner in Chennai, to ask them their location so that they could actually send them to the nearest store, and also go ahead and incentivize them on the back of a personalized coupon code. And the good thing is that that coupon code was time bound, so it creates a sense of urgency. Now the advantage of personalizing it to that extent is that because it's unique to a particular user, if that's redeemed in store, you know the source and you know where it came from, right? So they've actually gone ahead and seen really, really good results. And I think today, if we had to ask retailers what you do, apart from Conversions API, a click to WhatsApp campaign is definitely a home run because they've now scaled this pan-India. They again go ahead and run this in 7 different languages, as you can see over there. So the one there is in Tamil. And they saw a 3% uplift in their overall store footfalls. And I know that the one thing we keep hearing in retail is that new customer acquisition is slowing down. This campaign was actually able to drive so of half the people that eventually came via this campaign, half of them were new to Chroma. So it was a great way to continue acquiring new users as well. The last pillar that we've really got is on creativity, which is basically how do you speak the language of the platform, which is all things Reels and all things influencers. And if you really think about how do you do this really, really well, the advice that we give is how do you think social first, and how do you go ahead and build brand campaigns on Meta. And the example that you have here is of a brand called Louis Vuitton. I'm sure we've all heard of it. What you will be surprised to know is that all of this is from the same campaign. While it looks visually very, very different, it actually is the same campaign because they're doing a really good job adopting to the surface of Meta itself, right? So they start off with their brand ad, which is on the extreme left on the feed, which I think all of us probably do fairly well. We have that brand ad. But how do you reinforce the brand campaign with Reels, but also influencers telling that same story back again? Because today, the youth actually care about what an influencer says more than what you say about your own brand, right? So I think all of these things really become a big part of how you sort of do well on our platform. And just to summarize before we open up the conversation is, if you had to think of a tooltip of how do you really unlock growth for your brands, 5 parts to this, which is really implement CAPI, which is offline CAPI, which allows you to run all of these experiments and measure the impact on your store sales so you're not wondering what's working and what's not. The second is use that to go ahead and target your existing customers and also go ahead and expand beyond that to lookalike customers so that you really focus on new customer acquisition growth. You also want to leverage Meta in combination with your TV and print because eventually what we've seen is that it is more efficient to drive personalized communication at scale. Use click to WhatsApp. I think the Chroma example worked really, really well. We also have that live for Tanishq, and I think they've expanded to about 25 stores. And by end of the year, they want to get to about 100 stores as well. So it's working at scale, even for franchise partners. So let's just say if you have a large network of retailers that is all franchise owned, you can figure out a way to integrate click to WhatsApp across to them as well because they will also see the uplift because they're seeing those people come in and redeem those coupons and telling them that it's working. So it's the biggest validation that we've seen at least. And the lastly is make sure that you go ahead and speak the language of the platform, which is through Reels and creators. So that's all we had. I'd love to open up the discussion, and I know we've got about 40 minutes or so left, but would love to go around the room and probably just, we've got about 2-3 questions that we'd love to understand and get feedback on and also engage in discussion. So maybe if you could just sort of get a mix of responses on what is your omni-channel strategy today? How do you define omni-channel? And what do you think that's working? What do you think is not working? Anything from this that you saw that probably resonated that you can pick up and do? So yeah, the floor is open if anybody wants to kick us off.
So I'll take the first one. As in for us, as in omni-channel is basically channel agnostic. From wherever you want to order, you order. For the maximum stock utilization, if it's possible to deliver from wherever the inventory is, then probably you can increase the sales through of the product very much. So that's pretty much, as in with the operational point of view, I would say that's how we take Unicommerce as approaches. And I have probably a few questions which is not more related with this approach, but I have a slightly different, which is related with Meta as a product. So we are also using, as an I'm sure everyone in the room is using Meta in one or the other way. So I have two very specific questions. So I'll tell you, as in the more value the customer is, the more skeptical the customer is. And now customer skepticism has gone to a height where customers are really not ready to share their mobile number. Believe me, that's the last thing that they want now. And that's the last thing that they expect now you to ask. For every journey to actually capture to the customer, mobile number is very necessary, whether you want to create lookalike, whether you want to track and so on and so forth. When customer is actually not giving me the mobile number at the store, how exactly Meta is planning to address this query, number one. Number two, with this new law which is in discussion, which will probably require a specific consent from the customer, what exactly is how we are going to take that consent and how we are going to store that consent? So do you have anything to talk about?
So I'll answer the second one first.
Okay.
So as we are evolving landscape on the law, but Meta is very, very compliant to the laws of the land in whichever country we operate. It's early stage now, so I think there are many people having conversations and we'll put out exactly why, how, what. Yeah, so I don't think we know the answers yet, except the fact that both Meta and you will be legally compliant in whichever approach we take. Going to the first question, I think what we have seen is about for the customer to give the right mobile number, and as you were saying it, even I was thinking, I often, just change one digit on my mobile number and, leave it, which is a cheeky action. But I think it's about adding value to that customer, which makes them want to give the number. Where we have seen the best traction is on WhatsApp, but using WhatsApp in a consumer relevant manner. So a bunch of retailers, for example, have switched over to using WhatsApp to send you the invoice. Yeah, a bunch of retailers have started using it for sending you your warranty card information. Now these kind of things, if you are getting, the customer does give you the right number because it's a relevant piece of information. How does that help? It then allows you to put that back into the database for you to be able to target at a later stage. But from a WhatsApp perspective, we don't want it to become the next SMS, where you only open it for OTP and nothing else. So we also put a lot of friction in terms of messages that you can send as a business to a consumer. So for example, if your open rate or read rate is it's below a certain threshold or large number of people are blocking it, we ourselves will block messaging from that. So I think you will find the right reasons to engage with the customer so that they give you the right number. But then, like if you saw Devesh's slide, we used to talk about marketing funnels. But in the WhatsApp case, it's like an infinity loop. You can do everything from awareness, to order information, to warranty card, to service, but use it very mindfully. That's one big part. I do want to say one more thing, well, it's a longish answer, is another thing which Devesh told you was about something called click to WhatsApp. That's another great way for you to collect consumer information. So what you do is you run an ad on Facebook or Instagram. If you have a very strong online website, online presence, online shopping behavior, when you click on that Facebook or Instagram ad, you go to your website. Or you go to a platform where you're selling, you know, a Flipkart, a Myntra, wherever you want. But if you have a much stronger retail footprint and you actually want the customer information on a phone number, you instead run click to WhatsApp. So I see an ad on Instagram, you say click to WhatsApp, it opens up on WhatsApp, you automatically get the phone number of a person who's told you that he or she is interested in you. So it's a great way of enriching your database and carrying on a conversation from there.
So the number that I've collected this way, can this be considered as the right consent from the customer to collect the number?
Yeah, because the user is initiating the chat. So as long as he's initiating it, it's considered as consent given.
As of right now, with the new law as it forms out, we don't know as yet, but as of right now, this is totally possible.
One of the biggest thing is that, the bills are given. The bills are given today through the mobile, like Meghna talked about. So if I am buying groceries or something else, my bills are not there. They are saying the bahana is paperless, you know. But actually, it's a way of giving the bill. I have to see my bill, whether I am charged right amount of money or not. And in that process, you are giving. Many a times I refuse McDonald's when I am buying. I said, I don't want to give you a number. But that is because I am buying a thing and I am seeing the bill. But for a long bill, an item, an expensive purchase, you would like to have a bill. So there are tricks, but you are absolutely right with GDPR coming in and people. But in India, it will be a long way. India, the mobile numbers are everywhere available in dime a dozen. So I think it takes some time.
Abhishek, just to add to that, giving a mobile number is not a consent as of now. As per DPDP also, you will have to have a consent being ticked by them and said okay to it. Then only you can take it as an element of notion or around that. Yeah, but as you said, there are multiple ways to take the numbers and there is multiple terms and conditions, asterisks.
There should be a right way of taking the number. It's not the other way. It's the right way of keeping it.
Sorry, so if I can just bring it back to the second question, which is I'm just curious. I know you all have a large network of stores and an online presence, and we spoke about this. I was just telling you how I shopped from your website about last month. You guys had a nice sale, but do you all do a lot of digital marketing that eventually you tie it back to store footfalls and sales? Are you able to piece that journey together? And if
so, we are doing so. Just for you, you said 61%. We are doing 100% digital.
Okay.
Conventional is out.
Okay.
Last 3-4 years, we have not spent even a single penny on conventional.
Okay.
But yes, we are still not really able to stitch as in the offline sales to the online, as in how much we spent and what is the ROI that we are able to. With our digital sales, it's easy to actually track the customer, but offline is pretty much difficult.
Got it.
One thing to ask around from your presentation was you said that you can use CAPI.
CAPI, it's called Conversions API. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said that you also can let me know what is the sales up using a particular campaign, right?
Yeah.
How do you get the sales?
Sorry,
it's only online because my offline stores, if someone walks into my offline stores and it gets converted, can I pull that sales and show it to you? I'm not sure how you're doing that.
Yeah, so Conversions API, the way it works is that you're actually sending your store sales data back to us as well. So the minute you send that back to us, we're able to then map it at our end to eventually make that match.
You understand the constraints of legacy systems, right?
So if I can again jump.
That you want to upload your sales or not?
So I'll jump into that and I'll get LP to contribute because he is quite a veteran in this space of trying to do it at Reliance. So I'll go first, maybe you can add on. So there are two things to this, right? One, the way the systems are built today is actually simplified for the most legacy of systems. So you can decide, I can send it like real time, every second it happens, I can send it with a 1-day lag, I'll send it at 1 week, all of that. The second piece is we have a lot of people who also say, I don't want to give you my sale information because it's private to me and I'm worried about it, right? Previously, people would also say, I don't want to give you my customer information. Yeah. But now you realize that if I ask you all to put up your hands, do you use WhatsApp? You're all going to put up your hands, right? So we are saying as Meta, we don't need any consumer information. The consumer is already here. So the sales information, what some people do is they index it in some manner. It's not important to us at Meta to improve your campaigns to know exactly what they bought. Even if you have an index saying that LP bought 100, Meghna bought 200, so this is X and this is 2X, and 2X is more valuable than X, so I want to go after this cohort. So you can choose to kind of mask your information for those people who are conscious about certain elements of data. But again, when you're starting out in the early stage journey, we tend to say that get started first, see the benefit. If there is a benefit, then go into doing all of these activities.
See, Meghna, can I add?
Just one last thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, even when you start to see the benefit, you don't have to start with everything all the time. You should start with something small, feel the value yourself, then automatically I think these barriers get unblocked. Yeah, but over to you.
See, one of the biggest thing is that in offline retail, because we run 4,500 stores, every time you spend digital, the CFO will come and the CEO will come and ask, prove me the ROI कि तुमने ये खर्चा किया, how have you driven the footfall? All of us marketing folks every time face this challenge, right? So one of the fundamental thing what this particular tool is going to help you is that if you integrate, a person who has seen your ad and finally he shops, you'll be able to kind of attribute that the person has shopped. Now, if I don't give the data, first is that giving a data means obviously consent, all of us, obviously encrypted. One is that giving the data so that I can see that, and you can make a kind of an A/B testing. With 100 people I showed this ad and another 100. ये 100 में से पहले 10 लोग आते थे, ये 100 में आते नहीं थे, इनमें से आ गया. Then you can attribute very clearly that this happened because of particular campaign through Facebook or Instagram or whatever. The second important point is that, like what Meghna is talking about, just giving me the information and the number of people who shopped is one part. How do I make a more meaningful approach if I don't have a budget to target everybody? If there is a customer cohort where I have got high frequency customer or I have high value customer, I have done a CRM segmentation and somehow I mask that data, but I am able to create that cohort and I am able to target this customer. Tomorrow I have a limited budget, I need to a particular segment of customer who are kind of fleeting and frequency less, I will have a different approach. A particular segment customer who have a high value ticket customer, but they are not coming, there I have to drive frequency, somewhere I have to drive ticket size. All this kind of campaign can be done provided you are giving the data. Having said that, all of us have our own business challenges and how much we can share and this. Obviously masking it with the help of the IT folks and so that some kind of coding and all can done that customer can be maybe given a gold, silver, bronze kind of customer or something without actually revealing the customer information is going to help us.
One of the challenges which we face is when you do a real estate, so we run malls, right? And when we want to tell the retailers, friends of ours here, about how did the campaign run for us and vis-a-vis how did they benefit from that, that becomes a challenge today also, right? Though we run it through Meta or whichever platform.
I will give one example, sorry guys, obviously all of us speak, very interesting one. Before coming to this new assignment, I was actually heading the business for JioMart grocery, and we launched quick commerce and e-commerce, and we are present in more than 1,000 cities. Before that, my whole responsibility was to managing 4,500 offline stores. So every time we used to advertise on, print. Print used to be our mainstay. Full page advertisement for donkey's years I have been doing. So when we came to e-commerce also, we thought that let's also start doing the print, obviously like impact ke liye, and also we'll be trying print brings impact, right? So when you do a print advertisement, how are you linking it back to, let's say, I got the traction or not? सब लोग इंडिया में प्रिंट मॉर्निंग 7 to 8 o'clock के अंदर में पढ़ते हैं, उसी एक घंटे के अंदर में आपका ट्रैफिक सर्च नहीं हुआ, you can attribute that ad didn't work. I am being very candid. This is I have seen and I have clearly seen, because the biggest impact of print is that any campaign, print will get a visibility within 2 hours entire India. I mean, शाम को दोपहर को पेपर पढ़ते हैं, 5% लोग नहीं पढ़ते हैं, जो पढ़ता है सुबह पढ़ता है, नहीं तो दिन भर नहीं पढ़ता है. This is very simple, So one thing is that despite doing print advertisement, you see there is no surge in traffic, nothing is happening. Especially in case of quick commerce and all that industry, or where people are more and more. Young generation today is predominantly on mobile, spending tons of time on mobile. Like she said, almost 4 hours. So I keep on targeting, and I have got a lot of Gen Z in my team. They are not even subscribing to newspaper. I keep advertising, and where will they be spending money? So then I thought that my strategy is not working. I switched money in Bangalore as a market we had taken, and very clearly we advertised, moved that money and put extensively through Meta and did that campaign, I clearly saw a traction because we do a BAU days versus this and how the sales have gone up. So I'm not batting for Meta, but when you are actually able to articulate, performance marketing is clearly, you can see that's something which is very clearly visible. But in offline stores also, you have not done a print advertisement and you do a campaign. We keep launching new stores very, very heavily. 2,000 stores we launched during pandemic, 2,000 smartphone stores. Before campaign, you create awareness. They had a product called, event in Facebook. I think you guys have suspended that. People used to show interest, a new store coming near you. You know how many people have done. Then, after you launch a store also, you are taking the store to the consumer, showcasing the entire store and everything. So, I think, in terms of influencer marketing or in terms of, overall strategy, it is very clearly making a mix of both the worlds is going to be beneficial. And you can, if you are able to properly, segment the customer and also isolate the market and do an experimentation, you will be able to very clearly see the benefit of this. Because every time there is a question, when you are doing multiple media, each medium ka ROI dikhao. And that is where the challenge comes,
I would like to add. So I think this print media or so-called hoardings are more of brand recall rather than directly connecting it with the customer walking what we have for digital.
Yes.
I would like to share a small thing. I have a store in Davangere whereby we are having a hoarding there. It's a costly hoarding. We are having it since last, say, 8-9 years continuously. So it is, I think, more of brand recall. It is now known as a CRM circle hoarding. So that adds to the value for offline marketing. And the digital campaign, certainly we can connect it with direct walking into the customers and convergence. So we cannot measure what print ad is giving us. It has an intangible value of its own. That's the way I think I perceive it as.
Awareness, consideration and finally purchase. आपका awareness कर रहा है. When you finally purchase intent, तभी एक Meta का ad आ गया and you are doing the transactions. You are going and doing. So obviously every medium plays its important role and not a single one is important and nothing else. But you are absolutely right. Creating awareness is one job and versus doing a transaction. But having said that, it's not that only the bottom of the funnel work is done by Meta. I am saying building brand also can be done. Where I personally believe that every time we are doing performance-led campaigns, but using videos or like, he gave a very beautiful example, this Tanishq ad I have
of
seen.
Louis Vuitton. I was just going to talk about that. The example of Louis Vuitton is actually a brand ad, right? Because at the end of the day, they don't have an online channel just yet, or at least at that point, to send people there to eventually shop. So a lot of advertisers you see is actually doing brand advertisements on Meta. And even that works really, really well also.
I also want to just add to 2 points. One on the point on the mall that you were talking. The point that you were talking about the mall, I think we were, both myself and Devesh have been at various events. Past couple of weeks there have been a lot of retail events and this fascinating debate between the mall and the store, which I'm not going to get in the middle of. But what we were thinking through is as a concept is when I walk into a mall, how can you use WhatsApp to get them to scan a QR code with some kind of an incentive and then track that through in almost a treasure hunt fashion inside the store. And we have a lot of interesting AI-based like chatbots. So it's not any human interface. You walk in, you zap the code, and then you engage in a certain manner. Maybe there's a possibility to be able to get this data without actually someone having to physically share it with you. So I think it's something we can certainly explore.
Print your parking ticket after scanning.
I figured out that something.
So on that space, I think the same idea is also back to be it a hoarding, be it print. If you asked me like 5 years ago about scanning a code, I would have said nobody does that. But I think what has happened right now with UPI, all of us have got so comfortable with scanning a code and the action you need to take. We are seeing a lot of traction. It's just become consumer behavior now. People are very comfortable scanning a code. So be it at a mall entrance when you want them to scan a code to track some certain behavior, which that same code can sit in every store and you say every time you scan it, I'll get you some brownie points and collect a goodie at the end of it. Or a newspaper ad or a CRM circle hoarding. If you put up a QR code there, which is a scan into WhatsApp, it's your own WhatsApp. So you're not paying us anything for it. You're also getting that customer information with a trigger saying, I'm an interested customer. That's why I'm taking this action. The task for us as marketers is to figure out what is that call to action to make that person scan that code. Because the minute they scan the code, the chances of them being a relevant target audience for me is very high. And the scanning behavior is already prevalent. So I think if you're going to go back from here, take this as one task to go and say what will make them scan.
No, what we do is we play treasure hunt.
Yes,
When
absolutely.
we play a treasure hunt and you say that there are QR codes, you go and catch up. So we run some loyalty programs and signature cards and a loyalty, while it is a very cliche word now. But yeah, we do that some places. That we use a couple of AI camera-driven activities, but then that's more very high level on how many people walked in and so on and so forth.
Sir, I wanted to understand that as you were sharing that you
Sorry,
have
could
a
you just
couple
hold the mic up?
Yeah. I was just wanted to understand ki as you were saying that you have a list of customer data who are not coming regularly to the store. Those are all dormant customers. And you wish to give it to the Meta, that data, for coming back to the store. So what do you mean by that? Data is phone number absolutely or anything else than that?
So there are two things. One is that we also don't allow in Reliance, to be very honest. Okay.
Sorry, can you come back?
So we don't give this data to Meta because we have a Reliance has got tremendous, very strong policy. Having said that, so what is happening? Today you have a store. You want to do a catchment marketing. Okay.
Yeah.
What will you say? If I have a physical store, my customer will come typically from my neighborhood catchment. So me bombarding anywhere will not make sense because people will not travel that distance. I will do a targeting.
We can do a geo-targeting.
You will do a geo-targeting. You would have given an interest-based audience targeting and all that kind of cohort and do targeted.
Done.
Having said that, there is also a lot of people who would still not be actually interested in coming. You will be wasting money. But if you know your own customer base, you know who are the people who have shopped, you gave them the data in a hashed form. They create a lookalike audience. This audience within your catchment, first of all, आपके पास पैसा अगर नहीं है ना, you will be targeting to the people who have already shopped with you or at least visited your store, given your number. So that is the lowest hanging fruit. So what will happen is that the guy does not know your mobile number is there. And suppose you also give it to Google, their competition, but I'm saying, he goes to Gmail, he sees your ad. He goes to YouTube, he sees your ad. He goes to Instagram, he sees that. He goes to Facebook, sees that. बोलेगा अरे यार ये तो चारों तरफ दिख रहा है, but उसको पता नहीं आपका मोबाइल नंबर दिया है and everywhere you are targeting. So you zero wastage, 100% productivity, and you are able to get the conversion better.
So I just wanted to cross-check with you ki if we give you that data, so you will be able to run that journey?
So actually what LP is saying is two parts. One is if you give us a certain data, let's say
that is phone numbers particularly.
Phone
right?
numbers.
Phone number or email ID, both.
Yeah.
Hash form में दीजिए. Hash करके hash.
Okay.
Mask data
masking करके दीजिए.
You can
After masking the data you can give, not actual phone number.
Okay. So what is
Encrypted
that
data.
exactly? What is that exactly?
Your team would be knowing, I mean, this is the masking the data
Sir,
and the hash.
Star.
It will encrypt the data. It
आपका
will encrypt
password
the
आता
phone
ना?
number.
Okay.
But let's say you give us your data.
Okay.
Forget mask also, you
Okay.
just give the data. Can we target 100% you can? Yeah.
Okay.
But what benefit over and above that, what Meta platforms do is they take your data and you use some terminology, it's a little technical, called lookalike audiences.
Okay.
So what it says is that you are giving me 100, I will go and find another 100, another 1,000
Okay.
who show that behavior.
Lookalike thing.
It'll be a lookalike. So that way, the power of your 100, which is let's call it a seed data,
Okay.
is not restricted only to that 100. You can make that 100 into 1,000 or 10,000 in that region with those interests for the platform to go and find.
Basically, your targeting will be much sharper. Your wastage of money will be much lesser. Today, even though we say I am only targeting within 3 kilometer radius, 5 kilometer radius, 5 kilometer radius के अंदर में ऑटो वाला भी मोबाइल देख रहा है ना, वो भी आ जाएगा, right? He may not be CRM shoot करने के लिए उसका है नहीं capability.
Even a traveling customer, influx of population in a cities like Goa, so you will find a lot of people from across the world in Goa.
Yeah,
so
that is a
it
different
will
challenge.
also add to it.
Sorry, I do want to bring
I
in
have a
first cry.
ask.
Yeah,
So,
please go ahead.
So, no, apart from the online thing, we have a subscription model also for fresh milk, and we have kiosk machines also, right? So, we go to societies and try to identify where the cohort is more and all, right? So, suppose if we run an ad of a kiosk model or a subscription model, and if we want to know the name of societies where the heat map is more, right, where there's a more dense population, so that it's more apt for that kind of model. So, can you guys give us that information? if we run our ads. So these kind of these are the societies where the heat map is more. Because if that is there, because then it's working for me for that particular model perspective.
Yeah. I don't
Because
think
anybody who's coming on my app, so
Yeah.
I know I get the data, I can make a heat map. But for a kind of a model, which the subscription model or a kiosk model, for that we need a heat map.
So you want a heat map of which areas have the highest number of societies?
Specific. I'll be very specific. I want the name of societies.
Name of societies, okay. No, I don't think we can do that. Probably better off with a magic bricks or like trying to get that data from them.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One is that when you are saying that we can connect via WhatsApp, kind of a campaign where you direct message. So do we do that at a store level? For each store you have an Instagram account or something like that, or do we channelize all the stores into one account, and then how do we split it? Because my concern is the customer sends a message on WhatsApp, assuming he's from Bombay, and he sends a message, and at that point in time the person who's looking at the message is from Chennai.
Yeah.
He will not exactly understand anything that the customer is going to ask.
Yeah.
Especially if he's not going to understand the geography or the language. So how do we do that? Is that
So I think the beauty of WhatsApp is it can be personalized based on how your business is set up. The Chroma example that I showed is a central WhatsApp number that they had built, but it's all automated. So there's no person sitting on the other side, because the way it's designed is it's a bot. So there's a limitation in terms of the input and the output. So all it's asking is which product category are you interested in. There'll be 4 options. You select from that, you can't select outside of that. As a result, your variables are very limited, and therefore you can build a very specific channel. Having said that, if you also have a use case to say I want to have a master WhatsApp number and multiple child numbers below that, and give the power to every store itself, all of that is also possible. But the example here itself is about a central number, which is a more automated flow, so that the situation that you're talking about won't arise.
I'll also add one more thing. For this same use case, at any point in that flow, you can hand over to a human agent.
Yeah.
So at any point, you can just say, do you want to talk to someone? Give us a preference and we'll call you back. So you can always do that. But all of these, what our preferred recommendation is, again, if I go back 5 years ago, we wanted to pick up the phone on customer service. Yes. Yeah, and I'm still talking Metro, Tier 1 India. Today, if you ask me, I don't want to talk to any customer service. I'm like, in WhatsApp, me have choice de do, I will click everything, I'll finish everything, I'll be done. So I think that's definitely a trend where people are very comfortable, both in terms of WhatsApp text or voice, to be able to engage with bots, as you call it. And even as a business, it's very efficient, because your cost of servicing a customer on a customer service call versus engaging on a bot, obviously it varies. Like if you're selling Carrot Lane jewelry, it's still okay because your average order value is like really high. So I think each of your businesses, you'll have to think through that use case. Which part
Simple
is in the
चीज
bot?
अभी जैसे for example Carrot Lane एक शादी आ रहा है, you want to buy a gift, you create a click to WhatsApp campaign, the person is clicking, what is your budget? First question, looking for diamond or gold, वो ऐसे questions already pre-fed है, and then the options will come. So it is like, you know, the everything what you are supposed, like Holi is now coming in the month of March. I want to say Holi, are you planning for Holi preparations? In what all items, food mein, non-food mein, you know, and everything. So the fundamental part is that how do you create your own set of questions? How do you want to lead the customer, giving a meaningful thing, whether it is store nearby or your product description or pricing communication, all these things can be channeled. And you see the ad obviously in a locality nearby, then you will be able to. So click to WhatsApp, we have used actually extensively and really worked for us, big time.
One basic question from between the marketer and the IT guy.
Yeah.
There's always a fight. There's always a fight, right? Now I would want to know Meta's view around that. On stating that, say whenever we, so if, no offenses to any marketers here, but if anything doesn't work, it's basically the IT didn't talk to each other or the systems didn't talk to each other, we didn't get the output and so on and so forth. What's the ideal, or not maybe ideal, but what do you suggest from your recommendations? What should be a larger architecture or ecosystem which any of the retailers or any of the players have to play?
So I think depends on the stage of where you're at. Let's say you're just, so let's say for example, Reliance Retail is on a more evolved journey. So maybe you're saying you're at a starting point of the journey. Many of you are. I think to have that conversation, to see what are the possibilities and try and integrate with the latest kind of features possible at that point in time. Because everything is changing so fast that something that I'm talking today, 3 months ago would not even existed as an option. Yeah. So I think have a moment in time conversation. Now, obviously, there are good service providers in between. Yeah. So it's not always you as a business can talk to Meta directly. I think make the right choice of the partners in between. So there are a lot of people from the digital agency ecosystem or even from the IT side, from the CRM side. We call them business partners because they help bridge this gap. Because this one conversation that you're having with us like seeds all these thoughts, but to take it through to execution. And I think that you can break it down in terms of how to enable it. But if I give a very broad answer, the way tools at Meta are built, they are built for something called self-serve. So they are used to like faceless engagements which allow the system to work. So I think your going in proposition is it's simple and easy to implement. So we should be able to start somewhere and then keep iterating. We often get stuck because we take the most complicated problem and want to solve that in day one. Yeah, for example, this entire data, right? I have a 100,000 audience, it'll get shared, it's privacy unsafe. I would say don't worry about that. Take one city, take 1,000 customers, you first test the system. See whether the system works. Is the IT guy happy? Is the marketing guy happy? If they're okay, then go to the next stage of building systems and tools onto it. Yeah, so I think maybe simplify the questions, break it down into a pilot. Don't worry too much about breaking the system. Put those guardrails in, and only if it works, then you can scale.
I'll have to take a leave from what you spoke just now. It moves and the features are very frequent right now. So by the time I think through a process or articulate a problem statement and I want to test it, have a litmus test, the goals moved out. You have brought in something new there and I have to, and because the way marketing is, they also have to move with the pace of it. So it becomes very difficult for tech guys like us to keep up with the pace, right? For me, as I said, as I started, I have legacy systems. I'm at a stage where I can't phase it out, but I have to phase it out someday. How do you catch that goal? How do you make that transition seamless for us?
So I think the way our products are built actually, most part, not all, most part are modular, which is the latest technology is built on the past. So it's not that it'll go back to zero, you just won't have the best in class option. So it's like an iPhone 16 doesn't mean the 13 doesn't work, right? So I think it's okay. It's not as hard. But someone told me this, I moved into the digital media ecosystem about 10 years ago. And I used to be in Unilever before that, and then I moved to Amazon. And the unit of time changed. So when I was at Amazon, it was 1 quarter is equal to 1 year. So I think we have to embrace the fact that in the digital ecosystem, with this pace, it does change.
I think we have time for one more question. So if anybody wants to, I was just going to say, I know we have FirstCry as well, and you guys are probably again leading.
I wanted to talk. In fact, I don't want to repeat some of what the other people have said.
Yeah.
But I would like to think that we were one of the pioneers in terms of adopting WhatsApp very early to send mass promotional campaigns. To echo some of the stuff that you said, I won't exactly say that we have a lot of legacy systems, but yes, we do have our own challenges. And yes, the tiff between marketing and IT is very real and it exists. But you have to jump in and you have to take that plunge and you have to keep hacking away at it and you'll get there. I mean, we've had tremendous success with WhatsApp. We've already been using WhatsApp to get people to come back to the site. We were skeptical about using WhatsApp to get people to walk into our stores, but we've been very successful there. It's all about identifying the right use case, identifying the right geographies in those use cases, whether it's reactivating a customer who hasn't visited your store in 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, 60 days, whether it's promoting we're a fashion retailer primarily, so whether it's promoting a summer collection launch to somebody who transacts regularly at your stores, or whether it's upselling, cross-selling. I mean, we've had success on all these parameters. So I think you just have to jump in and find what works for you, find your sweet spot. That's very important.
I think adding to that, I would say, so see what tech is to IT is what money is to CFOs, right? So I think they are more protective about it. But yeah, I think from a marketing perspective, the more numerical or quantitative the result, I think the more benefit it gets to take decisions is what I would say.
Awesome.
You had a question. But you need to come.
It's off.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, are these questions and answers, should we predefine the questions and answers, or I would just dump my entire database, I mean all the content, marketing content or the question answer kind of content inside it, and you will use AI to filter out the answers and provide answers to the customer if it is an engaging conversation?
No, today it's not at that stage. It is, you will have to define structured question answer at this stage. Maybe 1 year later, if you're sitting here, it may be AI doing it for you.
Okay, got it. Because I used to build the conversational bot previously for my previous company, so I was curious to understand how you do it. And also I see annoying messages. Sometimes I start with a question and then it circles back to the same thing. I do not get an answer, specifically when there are complaints.
On all of that, don't blame WhatsApp.
No,
it's
no,
that
no, not
marketer who's
WhatsApp.
not designed the journey properly.
I'm not blaming Meta. I do steal Meta's models, open source models. Yeah.
We are around in case any of you want to have conversations. So thank you so much for keeping it super engaging. And I must say, be it LP or be it Chinmay, they are talking to our product where we have not had any conversation with them before this conversation. So I think it makes us feel really proud that the product's working and they're happy with it, and hopefully all of you have learned something and will want to try something out too. But thank you so much for your time. Thanks, Devesh, for hosting.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.